They say money can't buy happiness, but what if it's the very thing keeping you from finding it? I'm Charlotte Bennett, CEO of a billion-dollar empire, and the night I got stood up at Chicago's most exclusive restaurant changed everything. A struggling single father and his 6-year-old daughter needed my table for a birthday cake. I said yes. What I didn't say was that I could buy the entire building without blinking. For the first time in years, someone saw me as just Charlotte, not the fortune attached to my name. I fell in love. Hard. But how long could I keep my secret before my two worlds collided? The ambient lighting at the Gilded Harvest did nothing to hide my embarrassment. I sat alone at table 12, my blind date now 47 minutes late. The server approached for the third time, his professional smile barely masking pity. Just the check for the wine, please. My voice came out steadier than I felt. Being Charlotte Bennett, founder and CEO of Bennett Energy Solutions, meant constant scrutiny. At 34, I'd built a company valued at $8 billion. Forbes called me a visionary. Neither they nor anyone else knew I was sitting here, stood up like a college freshman. A commotion near the entrance pulled my attention. A man in his mid-30s with dark, disheveled hair was pleading with the hostess. He held the hand of a little girl who couldn't have been more than 6. Please, I know we don't have a reservation, but it's her birthday. I promised her the famous chocolate cake. Just a quick dessert at the bar. The hostess shook her head. I'm sorry, sir. Friday nights require reservations weeks in advance. The little girl's face fell. It's okay, Daddy. We can go somewhere else. Something in her quiet acceptance broke my heart. Before my brain could catch up, I stood. Excuse me. I have a table for 2, and my dinner companion isn't coming. You're welcome to join me. The man's expression shifted through surprise, suspicion, and finally hope. That's incredibly kind, but we couldn't impose. You'd be saving me from eating alone after being stood up. I offered a genuine smile. I'm Charlotte. The little girl tugged her father's hand. Please, Daddy. He extended his hand to me. I'm Daniel Harper. This is my daughter, Emma. Hi, Charlotte. Someone was mean to you. That's not nice. Emma's directness made me laugh. No, it's not, I agreed, leading them to my table. But now I get to have dinner with you instead. As Emma climbed into the chair, I noticed Daniel's slight wince at the menu prices. I made a split-second decision. This is on me. My company has a corporate account here for client dinners, and since my client ghosted me, it shouldn't go to waste. The lie slipped out smoothly. There was no corporate account. I'd pay from my personal card. But Daniel's pride was visible, something precious worth protecting. We really can't. Please. Besides, Emma deserves her birthday cake. Daniel met my eyes. Something passed between us, a connection. Okay. But I'm leaving the tip. Over dinner, Daniel told me he taught literature at Lincoln High School and coached wrestling. He'd been raising Emma alone since his wife died during childbirth. The pain was evident when he spoke of her, but so was the fierce love when he looked at his daughter. Emma is my whole world, he said simply, ruffling her hair. I found myself captivated. Daniel spoke about books with genuine passion, authors I'd loved before business school consumed my life. He treated Emma with respect and tenderness. When they asked about me, I kept answers vague. I worked in energy investments. My schedule was flexible. I'd recently returned to Chicago. What I didn't mention was that I was Charlotte Bennett, whose face appeared in Business Week, whose company traded on the NYSE. I didn't mention the 3 properties, the private jet, or that my net worth exceeded most small countries' GDP. For the first time in years, I was just Charlotte. No one wanted anything from me. Daniel had no idea I could buy this entire building without blinking. When Emma's chocolate cake arrived with a candle, we sang Happy Birthday. She squeezed her eyes shut, then blew it out with dramatic flair. I can't tell you my wish, or it won't come true. As evening ended, Daniel insisted on leaving the tip, a generous amount I suspected might have been more than he could afford. The gesture touched me more than any expensive gift from business associates. Outside, the Chicago night was crisp. Daniel held Emma's hand while I stood there, reluctant for the evening to end. "Thank you again," Daniel said sincerely. "You made Emma's birthday special." Emma tugged my sleeve. "Do you like playgrounds? We're going to the big one in Lincoln Park tomorrow." "Emma," Daniel gently corrected, "I'm sure Charlotte has plans." I hesitated for only a heartbeat. My calendar showed conference calls I could reschedule and a charity gala I'd been dreading. "Actually, I don't." "What time?" Surprise melted into a warm smile. "Around noon." "Perfect." I watched them walk away, Daniel carrying Emma on his shoulders. I felt something I hadn't experienced in years: lightness. A genuine connection. Someone had wanted me around not for my money or connections, just for me. I slipped into my waiting car, ensuring Daniel and Emma had turned the corner first. That night in my penthouse, I replayed every moment. The way Daniel's eyes crinkled when he smiled. Emma's laughter. The feeling of being seen as a person, not a bank account. I'd spent a decade building an empire, surrounding myself with layers of protection. But tonight, those walls had come down. It felt like coming up for air after drowning. Saturday morning, I stood in my closet staring at rows of designer clothes with growing frustration. Everything screamed money. Finally, I found old jeans and a simple sweater. No logos. Nothing that would give me away. "Lincoln Park, please, James," I told my driver. "Drop me 2 blocks from the playground entrance." I spotted them immediately, Daniel beneath the monkey bars while Emma attempted to cross, her face determined. "You're doing great, Em. Just one more bar." When Emma made it to the end, Daniel swept her into a celebratory hug that made my heart clench. "You came." Emma spotted me first, running over. "Did you see me? I did them all by myself." "That was amazing." I knelt to her level, genuinely impressed. Daniel approached slowly, that warm smile spreading across his face. "I wasn't completely sure you'd show." I said I would. The afternoon unfolded with unexpected ease. I pushed Emma on swings. We watched her climb with the intensity of someone conquering Everest. We sat on a bench while she made friends, their laughter filling the autumn air. "So what happened with your date?" Daniel asked eventually. "Why would anyone stand you up?" Heat crept into my cheeks. "Blind date. My assistant set it up. I guess he looked through the window and decided to cut his losses." Daniel shook his head. "His loss? Seriously? What about you? Do you date much?" He laughed, self-deprecating. "Between teaching, coaching, and Emma? Not exactly. It's been just us for so long, I'm not sure I remember how dating works." "You're doing just fine," I said, surprised by my boldness. He turned to look at me, a question forming. Before he could speak, Emma ran back, breathless. "I'm hungry. Can we get hot dogs?" We bought hot dogs from a street vendor, simple food I hadn't had since college. It tasted better than any 5-star meal I'd had recently. As Emma curled against Daniel's side, eyelids heavy, disappointment settled in my chest. But Daniel hesitated. "Maybe we could do this again? Without the playground next time." My smile felt like it might split my face. "I'd like that." We exchanged numbers. Daniel programmed mine as simply Charlotte. No last name. No connection to billions. Just Charlotte. Over the following weeks, we fell into comfortable rhythm. Coffee after Daniel's classes. Dinner at modest restaurants where I insisted we split bills, though I could have bought each establishment. Weekend outings with Emma to museums, the zoo, a puppet show that made her giggle uncontrollably. Daniel never pried beyond basic questions about my work. In my world, everyone wanted something: an investment, a partnership, a donation. But Daniel seemed content with just my company. One evening, after putting Emma to bed following movie night at Daniel's modest apartment, we sat on his worn sofa with wine. The apartment was small but warm, filled with books and Emma's artwork. A home in ways my penthouse had never been. "You're amazing with her," Daniel said quietly. "She adores you. The feeling is mutual." "It's more than that." He moved closer, his hand finding mine. Charlotte, I know we haven't known each other long, but I feel like I've been waiting to meet someone like you. When he leaned in to kiss me, I met him halfway. His lips were soft, his touch gentle but confident. It felt right in a way nothing had in a very long time. When we broke apart, Daniel's eyes searched mine. I should probably tell you something. My heart hammered. Okay. I looked you up online. After our second date. I was curious. My stomach dropped. And I found nothing. No social media, no LinkedIn, nothing. It's like you're a ghost. Relief washed over me so intensely I almost laughed. My team had been thorough keeping my personal presence separate from my CEO persona. I'm not really a fan of social media, I said simply. Daniel grinned. Honestly? It's refreshing. He kissed me again, and I let myself sink into the moment, pushing away the voice reminding me I was building this relationship on omission, if not outright deception. The next 3 weeks were the happiest I could remember. We texted throughout days, him sending funny student quotes, me sharing Emma's artwork she'd given me. We had dinner together most nights. What I didn't tell him was that my company had just closed a $300 million deal. That I'd spent hours on calls with the Danish Prime Minister. That Forbes had called about their upcoming billionaires list. The lies of omission stacked up like weights on my chest. Then came the Saturday that changed everything. Daniel, Emma, and I were having breakfast at our regular diner when my encrypted phone buzzed with the emergency code. I'd only seen that notification twice in 5 years. I'm sorry, I need to take this, I said, stepping outside. My CFO's voice was tight with stress. Charlotte, the Singapore markets are collapsing. Our entire Asian division needs immediate guidance. The board is assembling for an emergency call in 30 minutes. We need you. My mind shifted instantly into crisis mode. Have the jet ready. I'll be there in 40 minutes. I returned to the table where Emma was explaining her science fair project. Daniel looked up with concern. Everything okay? Work emergency. International stuff, different time zones. I have to go. On a Saturday? Daniel's confusion was evident. It's complicated. I'll call when I can. I kissed Emma's head and squeezed Daniel's hand, already mentally shifting into CEO mode. I didn't explain that when I can might mean days. I didn't explain about the private jet to Singapore. I didn't explain that thousands of jobs hung in the balance. I just left. 3 days became 7, then 10. The crisis was worse than anticipated, requiring my physical presence in Singapore, then Hong Kong. I called when I could, brief conversations that left Daniel more confused than reassured. You're in Asia? He asked one evening. For an investment job? It's complicated, I repeated, hating how evasive I sounded. When I finally returned to Chicago, nearly 2 weeks had passed. I texted Daniel from the airport, asking if I could come over. His response was simple, we're home. When I knocked on his apartment door, Emma answered, face lighting up. Charlotte, you're back. Did you bring me something from your trip? My heart sank. I hadn't even thought about souvenirs. I'm sorry, sweetheart. It was all work, no shopping. Daniel appeared behind her, his expression guarded. Welcome back. His voice had a coldness I'd never heard before. Can we talk? He nodded toward the living room. Sophie, honey, play in your room for a bit? Emma protested but retreated reluctantly. When we were alone, Daniel crossed his arms. So, you going to tell me what's really going on? Daniel's voice was tight. Because investment analysts don't typically fly to Asia suddenly for weeks at a time. I took a deep breath. You're right. I haven't been completely honest with you. His expression darkened. Are you married? Is that it? What? No. Nothing like that. The accusation stung. Then what? Because I've been racking my brain trying to figure out why someone would be so secretive about their job. I'm not just an investment analyst. I paused, then ripped off the bandage. I'm the founder and CEO of Bennett Energy Solutions. Daniel stared at me blankly. That's a tech company? We specialize in renewable energy storage solutions. Recognition slowly dawned on his face. Wait. Bennett Energy Solutions. That's always in the business news. The billion-dollar company. 8 billion, last quarter, I confirmed quietly. Daniel sank onto the sofa, visibly processing. You're a billionaire. Yes. And you let me pay for coffee. You let me leave those tips at restaurants. His voice had a hollow quality. I wanted you to see me, not my money. From the moment we met, you treated me like a person, not a bank account or business connection. Do you know how rare that is in my world? But you lied to me. I omitted. I never outright lied. Even to my own ears, the distinction sounded weak. Lies of omission are still lies, Charlotte. I'm an English teacher. I understand semantics. His jaw tightened. Did you think I'd treat you differently if I knew? That I'd try to take advantage of you? No, it wasn't about that. I struggled to articulate feelings I'd barely admitted to myself. People always want something from me. Always. Business deals, investments, donations, connections. Nobody ever just wants me. I wanted you, he said softly. Just you. The past tense didn't escape my notice. And now? I whispered. Daniel ran his hand through his hair. I don't know. I feel like I don't even know who you are. You live in a world I can't even imagine. Private jets and emergency board meetings in Asia. Meanwhile, I'm saving for Emma's college fund and worrying about next year's rent increase. Those things don't matter to me. They should. It's reality. My reality. What about Emma? Daniel stood, pacing. She's already attached to you. What happens when your world pulls you away again? When you disappear for weeks with barely a phone call? The accusation stung because it was true. I'm sorry about that. The crisis caught me off guard. I should have communicated better. Yes, you should have. His voice softened slightly. Look, I need time to process this. It's a lot to take in. I nodded, fighting tears. I understand. Daddy. Emma's soft voice came from the hallway. Why are you upset with Charlotte? Daniel's expression immediately softened. I'm not upset, sweetheart. Just having a grown-up conversation. You look upset. Emma approached cautiously. Is Charlotte leaving again? The pain in her eyes was almost unbearable. I need to go home now, I said gently, kneeling to her level. But I'm not disappearing again. I promise. Pinky promise? Emma held out her little finger. I intertwined my pinky with hers, my heart breaking. Pinky promise. As I left the apartment, the weight of what I might have destroyed pressed heavily on my chest. I'd finally found someone who saw my true worth beyond any balance sheet, and my own secrets might have ruined everything. For 3 days, I threw myself into work, trying to distract from the silence of my phone. On the 4th day, I made a decision. If Daniel couldn't accept who I was, I'd have to live with that. But not without fighting for what we'd built together. I called him that evening. Can we meet? There's something I need to show you. His hesitation was palpable. I don't know, Charlotte. Please. After this, if you still want space, I'll respect that. Finally, he agreed. Emma's at a sleepover tomorrow night. I can meet you then. I'll pick you up at 7. 1 year after that first night at the Gilded Harvest, Daniel and Emma moved into my brownstone. The transition was smoother than any of us anticipated. Emma claimed the sunny bedroom overlooking the garden, decorating it with a mix of her old treasures and new discoveries. Daniel's books found homes beside mine on the shelves. Our lives intertwined with remarkable ease. On a warm summer evening, I sat in the garden watching Daniel teach Emma how to grill burgers. The domestic scene filled me with a contentment I'd never known in all my years of business success. Careful with the spatula. Don't press the burgers, Daniel instructed. I know, Daddy. Charlotte taught me when you had parent-teacher conferences, Emma replied. Daniel glanced at me with raised eyebrows and a smile. Later, after Emma had gone to bed, he led me back to the garden. Fairy lights twinkled in the trees, a new addition I hadn't noticed. "What's all this?" I asked. Daniel took both my hands in his. "1 year ago, I walked into a restaurant hoping to buy my daughter a slice of cake. Instead, I found the love of my life." He dropped to one knee, pulling out a small velvet box. The ring inside was simple but elegant, a solitaire diamond set in platinum. "I saved for months for this," he said, answering my unspoken question. "I wanted to do this part myself." Tears filled my eyes. Daniel. Charlotte Bennett, billionaire CEO and the woman who reads bedtime stories to my daughter with all the right voices. "Will you marry me?" "Yes," I whispered. 1,000 times yes. As he slipped the ring on my finger and pulled me into his arms, I reflected on how different my life might have been if that blind date had actually shown up. Some would call it fate. Others, coincidence. But I prefer to think of it as the best investment decision I'd ever made, investing my heart in a man who saw my true value beyond any balance sheet. In the end, this billionaire had found something more precious than all her wealth, a family who loved her simply for being Charlotte. This is my story of triumph. Do you think I handled it correctly? If you were in my shoes, what would you have done? Share your thoughts in the comments. I can't wait to hear your perspective. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to Memorable Stories and Overcoming, where we share inspiring stories of triumph and justice every single day.